Welcome to the world of Terrea, a low-magic, high-tech, fantasy punk world that is a mix of the medieval and Renaissance periods. If they had robots, guns, and computers that were built by an ancient race and was powered by a mystical energy called Aether. You are currently located in Dessingrove, a city on the southern coast of the island continent of Orland. Orland was an uninhabited landmass until recently, as it became home to the refugees from the Empire's invasion of the Three Nations. These refugees banded together to form the Partisans, a loose confederation that made Dessingrove their capital city. At the center of the continent is an ancient ruined laboratory called Mandevrath. Inside the ruins, the now extinct Gauld built robots and weapons that they hoped would help them win their war against the dragons. This included the bioweapon DRAVID, which was tested on the genetically modified draconic humanoids known as Kobolds. Surprisingly, the Kobolds survived, locked away in the ruins for centuries after the Gauld were banished to the Shadow Realm after their defeat by the dragons. The other top secret research performed at Mandevrath was the Aether, a reality-altering machine that could tap into the Aether directly and create whole new worlds. The Kobolds were able to use the Aether to dial into safe regions that allowed the Kobolds to gather food and supplies. Mandevrath and the Aether was discovered by an adventuring group called Terrea Incorporated, who then sold the discovery to an enigmatic group known only as the Collectors. Terrea Incorporated only had one stipulation: that the Kobolds had to be protected at all costs, since a shadowy, covert faction of the Empire known as the Bloodfangs had evil intentions for the draconic humanoids. But the Bloodfangs eventually found out the location of Mandevrath and launched an assault against the meager force of Collectors and the tribal Kobolds. There was a valiant defense, but the Bloodfangs managed to push deeper into the ruins and were almost upon their true goal, the Aether. The two remaining Collectors were Aether and Partisans, who wielded the power of the Aether via manifestations known as specters. They both knew that they were overrun and had lost, and so ordered the remaining kobolds to retreat back into their tunnels deeper in the ruins. Aether ran into the fray, using his spectral powers to cause as much damage and confusion as he could. It wasn't long until he was shot down by a volley of arrows, but he bought enough time for Partisans. Time for him to overload the Aether and cause it to explode. The release of such massive energy caused the complete disintegration of the ruins, leaving a smoking crater in its wake. The Kobolds, luckily, were deep enough to survive the detonation and used an Aether-based radio to call the Collectors' headquarters in Dessingrove. And it was through that communication that the surviving Kobolds learned of the other effects of the explosion. It turned out that the machine was actually a bridge to other dimensions, able to create portals to alternate realities other than our own. And the destruction of the Aether compromised its stability, leading it to leak out these portals at random. All over Orland, portals were appearing and leaking in their contents. Some portals were stable, creating what is termed as bridges to other realities, while others were unstable and temporary and didn't last long or in the same place. Only Orland was affected. The rest of the world was left untouched. But that just made the phenomenon of the portals just that more interesting. The Empire suddenly had dreams of a multi-dimensional empire. The forgers of the Federation licked their lips over the exotic metallic alloys that could be unearthed. The traders of the Republic lusted over new avenues of profit. And the Orc clans went berserk over the possibility of bigger and badder things to fight. Orland, once considered a frontier, a lonely place out on the fringes, is now the focus of all of Terrea. And that's the end of the scripted part. Here I'm going to quickly talk about the future of the campaign. Basically, we're going to be moving towards a West Marches campaign. The idea is that whatever happens in session stays in session. That the session itself is going to be completed and self-contained. Some bits can carry on in later sessions. You can carry on threads and stuff like that. But the idea is we cannot guarantee because we cannot guarantee the same party because of family commitments, shift work, and all that kind of stuff. That everything that happens in that session. This allows people to drop in. If a new player can only do one session, they show up for that one session, and it won't affect the story overall. And older players can try out a new character. Maybe their current character wouldn't go through this kind of session arc, so let's create a one-off character just to, play and continue in the game. As for the stuff like with Krieg, that stuff will continue. The hunt for Krieg is still on. Garrick is still around, the reformed Krieg bot clone. And yeah, that's everything. You got my number. Give me a contact. See you soon.